Some people may tell you there's no better feeling than winning a bet. I tell you there's no better feeling than finding a winning bet. Because when you figure out how to do that, winning just becomes inevitable. These are 5 of the smartest sports bets you should be making this year. Niche markets might be my favorite thing to talk about because if you really familiarize yourself with a market or a sport or a market within a sport, you can create some amazing betting opportunities with long-term results. I mean, think about it like this. Would you rather spend all of your time betting the sharpest and most popular markets, or instead dedicate your time to some of these markets or sports where the abundance of free information isn't available everywhere for any random casual to jump in head first? Like, intuitively, that just makes sense, right? There's a bigger edge to be found in markets where less people are betting them and there's less information available. Ben Rassa actually explains this perfectly when talking about college markets, how you can kind of refine your process and develop a real edge.
The answer is actually pretty simple. Let's dig in further. Instead of worrying about all of college basketball, take a single conference, take 2 conferences, take a handful of teams and become an expert. Learn about the injuries, learn about the beat reporters, know the rotations. Before you know it, you're going to see something amazing. You will actually be anticipating better than the lines makers. The value will open up. Why? It's pretty simple. You know the teams better than they do. How is that possible? It's because they have thousands of lines to worry about, and you have the luxury of picking and choosing where you want to attack. That is the cornerstone of niche market betting. You dive in, you become an expert, and you actually get to dictate where you want to put down your money.
My niche, personally, NFL preseason. And people always tell me, don't bet the preseason, it's a crapshoot. Couldn't be more wrong. And sure, your limits won't be as high, but that's not going to matter for the large majority of people. And the reason your limits aren't as high is because there isn't an abundance of easily accessible information at the hands of the sports books. So naturally, that's one way to protect themselves. But the great part about this is just because the information isn't easily accessible doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The amount of flat out bad lines that I've been able to exploit in NFL preseason over the past few years is endless. And the reason for that is because I put in the time, I put in the research, and I find the edge. Here you go. Here's a good one from the 2024 preseason. I believe it was the last week. I think it was week 3. 49ers, half-point first quarter favorites over the Raiders. All right, you say it's preseason. Whatever. Yeah, except the 49ers played all of their starters through the first quarter, and we knew that was going to be the case, while the Raiders played strictly backups across the board at every single position throughout the entirety of the game. And you're 100% capable of doing the same thing too. But I'd say this, find a niche that you enjoy, that's fun for you, something you're passionate about, because not only will the research and the end results be more fun, but it's going to be more profitable in the end as well. Or, of course, just watch my weekly preseason videos right here on the OddsShopper channel. Promos and boosts can be a surprisingly good way to build up your bankroll, especially if you're new to a sports book and they aren't restricting your bet size to like $5 or $10 on every single one of them. You do have to be careful about, which one of these promos and boosts you take advantage of, though, because they're clearly not all created equally. And what I mean by that is you may have a sports book present you with an offer or a boost, right? Or a promotion where it's like a 4-leg pre-made anytime touchdown parlay where they boost the odds, but you don't know what the true odds actually should be or if there's any real discernible edge. And that's so much different than them giving you, say, a 50% profit boost token to use on whatever bet you want, where you know that that is clearly advantageous one way or another. Now, you've probably heard about EV betting at some point, right? Especially if you're on social media, because it's exploded onto the scene lately. As it should. I'm an EV bettor myself. But there seems to be a huge misconception among the public on what EV betting actually is. Because really, all that's required to be an EV bettor is the ability to find bets where the probability of that bet winning is better than the odds implied by the sportsbook. So in the case of promos and boosts like this that you see on sportsbooks all the time, you often won't actually find better EV opportunities with any other approach you use. The only downside is that obviously your wager size is going to be restricted in one way or another. They're not just going to let you put $10,000 down on any given profit boost or any given promotion, but a profitable bet is a profitable bet, and you take them when they're given to you. Now, you got to understand too that a profitable bet doesn't mean it's going to win every single time, right? Or even close to all of the time. That's just how betting works. Again, all it means is that the probability of the bet winning is better than the odds that are offered by the sportsbook. That's it. So for example, let's just say DraftKings takes a promotion where they run Anthony Edwards points prop of 27.5 and they drop it to 19.5. There's clearly massive expected value there. Whether that bet, that singular bet, wins or loses is entirely unimportant because you would be insane not to take that bet every single time they offer it to you. So yeah, you might not be able to get a ton down every time these sports books throw you a profit boost or a promotion, but you should always take advantage of them. Always bet them because good bets are good bets, and that's it. Think about this deeply for a second. I guess not that deeply, but think about this for a second. Where do you think you're going to have a bigger edge, a bigger advantage? A Monday night football game or a random player prop? That shouldn't even be a question, right? I mean, sports books, no matter how many hands they have on deck, there's just simply no way they can cover every aspect of every market. And ultimately, there are going to be instances where they leave themselves exposed. There's just less readily available information here because unlike betting a total in an NFL playoff game or a spread in an NBA finals game, with props, you as one person, you're actually able to dig into these deeper than the books in some instances. And that's where you can find an edge. Do you remember that Patriots game against the Dolphins where Gerard Mayo said that Antonio Gibson was going to be the starter that game? Essentially a way to punish Ramondre Stevenson for his fumbling. And then Stevenson's rushing prop line on FanDuel opened up at 33.5 yards. This was just one of those spots where I personally felt like I had a definitive edge, where it's one of those super obvious spots. The coach kind of benches the starter for the first drive, and then he goes back to his normal role, especially considering that the only player with a higher fumble rate than Ramondre Stevenson since 2017 is Antonio Gibson. So you know what happened? Antonio Gibson got the first drive. It was a 3 and out. Next drive, who's in there? Ramondre Stevenson. He covers that number on the first drive. Now, look, you're not saying that's going to happen every time, but it was very obvious. He became the starter for the rest of the game, racked up 36 yards and a touchdown on his first drive, and finished with almost 90. Or what about that time in 2023 when 30 minutes before tip-off in an NBA playoff game, Steve Kerr said that Kevon Looney had an illness and that he would play off the bench? Well, what happened is a lot of books were slow to react to that, and then Kevon Looney bets became smash spots on all of the unders. He ended up playing 12 minutes in that game, and every single under cashed. When you find prop bets like that, it truly feels like you've struck gold, especially when they won. But here's the thing. Those are few and far between opportunities. Great edges don't pop up every day in not only the player prop market, but any market. Those type of opportunities, on the whole, are rare. And that's exactly why a lot of people use a market-based approach to prop betting as well. With the market-based approach or top-down approach, you're simply just betting discrepancies in the market with large volume of bets each day and grinding out small edges for a profit. And the great thing is you don't need a lot of money to start doing a process like this because your returns are constantly compounding into bigger profits as you reinvest your bankroll every day. And you don't need to do any research either. Matter of fact, you don't even need to know anything about the sports that you're betting because everything you're doing is based on what the market tells you to bet. And by identifying the true odds of each bet, by using a sharp source or a source of truth for a given market, now you're able to see exactly which books are posting beatable odds. Essentially, you can know when the probability of a bet winning is better than the odds that are given to you by the sportsbook. Forgive the shameless plug here, but I use PortfolioEV by OddsShopper for 4 very obvious reasons. 1, I've made a good amount of money with it. 2, our developers are awesome and all of our data is back tested with the results tool so you can see exactly which bets are profitable long-term and which ones to avoid because it's harder to beat the market. 3, well, there's a mass entry tool so I can place up to 20 bets at a time, get over 100 bets a day in less than 20 minutes with a single tap of a button on my phone with the OddsShopper app. And 4, well, I get push notifications sent straight to my phone so I never miss an opportunity. It's as simple as that. And if you ever wanted to try it out, your first week is 100% free. You want to claim a free week, link is in the description, link is in the pinned comment. If you ever have any questions, hit me up on X, hit me up in the comments. I'm happy to help you out. So arbitrage betting is when you place a bet on each side of a two-way market with different prices to guarantee a profit. Well, kind of. I'll explain that later. First, let me give you an example of how it works first so you can learn how to make these bets on your own if you wanted to try arbing. Okay, look at the Malik Monk rebounds plus assists prop. By the way, the arbitrage tool over at OddsShopper is free if you wanted to check it out for yourself. The over on ESPN is plus 120 and the under on FanDuel is minus 104. Now, if you're new to this type of thing, you might not immediately identify the discrepancy here, but with these odds, you could place a bet on each side of this prop and regardless of which side wins, you're guaranteeing yourself a profit. In this case here, if you had $1,000 to wager and you placed 471 on the over and 528 on the under, no matter what happens, you're locking in a profit of $37. Arbitrage betting, in theory, is amazing, and there are certainly times to use it, but it doesn't come without its limitations either. For one, you're grinding out small profits on every bet, even if you have a large bankroll. They're guaranteed profits, yes, but in order for this to be profitable enough to do consistently, not only would you need a large enough bankroll, but you'd also need enough quality arbitrage opportunities on the board every day to make it work. And even if you do have the bankroll to make it work, sportsbooks can be super quick to limit your accounts if they detect this type of repeated behavior. And this can be pretty damn painful if you find out the hard way and, lock in the bet on one sportsbook for one side, and when you go to place the other one, you find out that you can't get even close to enough down to make it work. Or worse, by the time you go to place the second wager, you find that it's no longer available at the odds you would have needed to lock in a profit. And considering the best arbitrage opportunities are always on these small niche markets or player props, it makes it a whole lot more difficult to fly under the radar as well. Arbitrage can definitely be useful, but it's not the get-rich-quick, zero drawback approach that you'll see many people espouse it to be. With that in mind, though, sometimes you're just going to come across some amazing opportunities, and it's a great tool to have in your belt. Now, this last one may not be a specific type of bet, but I figured it was important for me to add it in here, so I wanted to wrap the video up with this. In most cases, if you have the ability to bet something early, do it. Now, by doing this, that would suggest that you have an edge. And if you think that you have an edge, why would you not want to lock the best number in as possible before it moves? Think about some of your friends that may be casual bettors. When's the last time one of them sent you an NFL bet for a Sunday game on a Tuesday, right? No, they're betting on 12 noon Eastern for a 1 p.m. game. And you know what? In some cases, maybe by a stroke of luck, that ends up helping them. But the odds are always going to be sharpest the closer you get to game time. And yeah, maybe there's times where you might like an underdog in a game and you wait because you think the line's going to keep getting bigger. Sure, but that's not what casuals are doing. They just never bothered to check the lines earlier in the week. Now, like anything, there's some limitations here. Maybe you want to hold off on a game and wait until closer to game time if there's legitimate injury question marks surrounding key players, or if the weather in a game is highly uncertain 1 week out. Sure, but generally speaking, if you're on the right side of something and there's a perceived edge there, obviously you want to have the advantage of getting in on the best number before it moves. And that's another reason, like when we talked about player props with the PortfolioEV tool, that I do my best to get as many bets in as possible in the morning for sports like NBA, NHL, WNBA, all of that stuff, because that's when I know that the biggest edges are available. Appreciate you guys sticking it out to the end. Hope you got some type of insight, some type of valuable information out of this. Now go on, start making smart bets, and hopefully we'll see you over there at OddsShopper. If you decide to sign up, hit us up in the Discord, say hello. We're always happy to help you guys get started. Until next time, we'll catch you back here for the next one. Peace.